All right, welcome back to Mastering Risk. I am your host, Dr. D. Today, we are going to talk about the unspoken danger that your employees and you are using AI. It's not a bad thing. AI is great, but this one thing everybody's overlooking is going to cause you significant trouble. So sit back, grab yourself your favorite beverage. Let's get at her. All right, welcome back to the podcast. Listen, we appreciate all of the support we continue to get. We are proud to announce that we have grown over 500 subscribers. And, you know, I get it. There are wonderful channels out there with 1 million subscribers, 600,000 subscribers that are providing advice to business owners, etc. But what we do here at Mastering Risk is we provide advice based upon the reality of 70 to 75% of the side hustles and small businesses that exist in North America who make less than $100,000 a year. The people who are really interested in what is it really like to create something that generates an amazing $35,000 in total top line revenue and then probably generates $25,000 in profit for you and your family. I think that would be pretty cool right now for most North American families if you had an extra $2,000 a month cash to make your ends meet, to make Christmas a little better, whatever it may be. So what we do is we provide advice here on how to navigate risk, whether it's your family or in an entrepreneurial sense, to figure out how in the chaos and the uncertainty of 2026 and the tail end of 2025, how do you find success? How do you thrive? How do you navigate all of these disruptions, whether they be political, economic, or natural disasters, or whether they be some type of familial or society type disengagement? The whole point here is we provide non-apocalyptic, evidence-based education in risk resilience and preparedness. Everything that we provide for you here on Mastering Risk is based upon evidence. So what does that mean? That means the statements that I make, the claims that I make, what I tell you, I've done the research. I'm a professor in disaster and emergency management. I'm a multiple book author, and I've been studying this phenomenon for over a dozen years. What we fail to understand as a collective, and I'm a small business owner myself who has a business that makes less than $100,000 a year, is that there's a whole bunch of things that are beyond our control. It can be cyber risk, operational risk, reputational risk, strategy risk, all of these things that we're exposed to in the bigger, broader environment that we don't have control over, but they influence and affect how we run our business. Whether your business is an Etsy side hustle, whether it's a print on demand through Shopify, whether you make little figurines and mail them out, whether you drop ship products you have manufactured in China, Taiwan, Bangladesh, or wherever, you have a side hustle that you're doing. You would like to grow that slightly. What we really concentrate on is how do you protect the market share you have so that you can jump into the rest of the population in the deep pool, the blue pool as they call it, with 2 red feet. So today we want to talk about something about AI. Now, up front, I've been a proponent of using AI in many parts of your business, and I will continue to do so. I think AI provides some great benefits. We here at Preparedness Labs Incorporated, we use 3 different AI programs. We use Opus Pro, we use TurboScape AI, and we use Holo AI. We're very upfront about that. That's what we use. We use those for different things, and they help us with our creatives. They help us with generating shorts, etc., for our social media presence. AI has a great opportunity for small business owners to be able to do a whole bunch of things in the background so that you, the creator, you, the intelligence, you, the brain behind the organization, has the opportunity to do the things that really matter. The creative things, the idea things, engaging with customers, coming up with new digital products, filming new courses, filming new products, creating PDF downloads, maps, D&D maps, whatever it is that you may be doing. AI allows you to do the core things that you do well and takes all the background office style labor and sets it aside, and AI can do that. The difficulty in what we're going to talk about today is an unspoken risk. AI is the first risk profile that has come both through the back door and through the front door, right? Most of the risk in cyber world comes in the back door. It comes in through a phishing scam. It comes through an unpatch. And we talked about this in the last episode, your lack of updated patches, cyber risk, that type of thing that comes in the back door. In other words, it sneaks in through your vulnerabilities that you were unaware existed and then catches you off guard. AI in this example, what we're going to talk about today, is coming in through the front door. It's your employees using AI unfettered, unregulated, and you yourself as a business owner, if you're a solo entrepreneur, maybe like me, and you're using ChatGPT or Grok off X, and you're asking it to do a bunch of things, what information are you providing free of charge to the chatbot? Now, a lot of people think that using AI and using a chatbot like ChatGPT, I'm just going to upload a bunch of things and ask it to do things, right? So I'm a professor, and we have some students that want to get AI to do all of the work for them. And then I actually talk a lot about in the lectures. I teach 3 graduate courses a year, and I talk to my students about the value of AI and the things that it can help you with in academia. But in the end, you need to write the final product. You need to film the final product. You need to deliver the product to your professor or to your client and customer if you're a small business owner. It can't write the final product because it will make mistakes that are obvious and will tell me in a heartbeat. It's not hard as a professor to find those that use AI. But what happens is what we caution is the number one thing is that AI is not just an IT issue. It's coming in through the front door, which means how many times have you as an individual taken information, taken files, uploaded it to ChatGPT, and then asked it to do a summary? Can you do a summary? Write me a 300-word YouTube script. Can you look at what's really successful in YouTube and go over here and give me 5 possible click titles? Titles that'll have great hooks in them and will persuade the user to click on it and watch my video, right? That's great. But what information are you offering to it? Because remember, you don't know where that information goes. And AI bots are trained. The more they get used, the more that they learn. So they do things a certain way. You say it's really good and you use the product. They're like, okay, that's a positive. That's what they're looking for. I know it's not like cognitive human thinking, but the more we train the bots, the more responsive they become to what we're looking for. Which is why when you use AI, it's not a bad thing to use a singular AI. It gets to learn what you're looking for. It gets to know what you're happy with. And it continually tries to provide you with that because that's its goal and stated aim. However, if your employees takes business intelligence, so for example, you have at your business a couple of core documents that talk about how you structure videos if you're a video course creator, or a business, how do you do pricing, right? And you take all of this and you put it up into ChatGPT and you type it out and say, hey, make me a cool business proposal for a dry cleaner in Ottawa that has 4 outlets. You've just uploaded potentially your own business's proprietary information, and you've put it into this monstrous thing called ChatGPT. It now has it and possesses it, and you have no control over what they're going to do with it. Because if you look down in the regulations, in the terms and conditions, which we all by default agree to, you're giving them an unrestricted permanent lifetime license to use that content to treat. So it's in there. Now, what happens when somebody hacks it? And there's a great scenario that came out of the US not that long ago where an employee was uploading, customer data. So the customer, sometimes when you deal with clients, you get some of their business intelligence, right? Think about if you put out a bid and a bunch of companies bid on it. There is a trust in that process is that the bid information from company A is not shown to company B because it's proprietary information, and they'll sue the heck out of you. Well, what happened was a employee of the company put that information up into ChatGPT. Actually, no, I think it was Claude or Grok. It was Claude, I think, or one of the others. It wasn't ChatGPT or Grok, but they put it up into an AI. That program got hacked by an outside source, and that data was released. The company found its pro forma data out on the internet, tracked through the source, and ended up suing the company and destroying their reputation. Your employees should be and you, if you're a solo entrepreneur, it's the same thing. Your employees and yourself should be using AI to the greatest extent possible within a structured risk framework. When we talk about risk, that's what we do here at Mastering Risk. So we really want you to concentrate on understanding how AI is used in your business, what information you are putting up into the AI, which means you're giving them permanent access to, which means you're also opening it up for the potential that some third party that has that data now can be hacked and that data can be leaked. And it could be your customer data, and if it's leaked, you get sued, but it could be your own internal data. You know, I've seen examples in conversations with business owners where they're putting all of their proposal data, all of their background data, like they're taking their 5-year analytics from their entire business through all of their supply chain data, all of their financial data, and they're sticking in an AI and asking it to generate reports. Well, it's really cool, but you're dumping the entire history and knowledge and detailed information of your business's activities into a third-party software. Make me a chart. And if you just think about that for a second, how freely you're letting information go when you probably have a pretty robust IT protection program. You've got passwords, you've got password servers, you've got hardware automatic updates, software automatic updates. You keep a very close security register on who has access to what. You have air gap data. You have all of these steps that you've taken to the extent possible that's reasonable. You've mitigated against harm. You've mitigated against a loss due to a cyber intrusion. And then you throw that all in the toilet by grabbing your primary core information and throwing it into an AI software and say, run a bunch of reports, write a proposal for me, do whatever. You're basically throwing the data into the open and hoping that somebody within the corporation of ChatGPT, OpenAI, or Claude, or any of the others doesn't leak it, or that it doesn't get hacked. Because guess what? Even AI companies get hacked. Everybody gets hacked. You get hacked. I'm going to get hacked. It's just the way it goes. It's the fact that your employees are openly putting this information out into the framework, out into the world, out into open source, for lack of a better term. So what we're trying to say here is encourage you not to abandon AI, not to be afraid of AI, but to intelligently and logically understand how you're going to use AI and what limitations on the data sharing you're going to do. Because that's what it's all about, right? It's about understanding the risk I'm going to assume by using AI balanced against the benefit that AI provides my company. And it's always that balance, right? It's that the scales of justice. I'm going to take a risk by using AI. There's a risk in everything. But is the benefit I'm getting from it far greater than any risk I'm assuming? And generally it is if it's used appropriately. And therefore, that's why we encourage clients, and then we talk to people all the time. And I encourage my academic students in their master's and PhD programs to go through that and to use AI where it's intelligent, where it's logical, where it can provide you the best benefit, but doesn't challenge any ethical guidelines. And that's really what we're talking about is sitting down and taking 10 minutes with a whiteboard or a piece of paper, whatever works for you, and just thinking your way through, how do I intend to use AI? What are some logical restrictions that I think right now, and those restrictions will wane. They'll become less invasive as you yourself become more and more comfortable with the different forms of AI and the different uses that it has for you, and that you understand and you just explain it. Now, if you're a solo entrepreneur, it's yourself. What you have to guard against as a solo entrepreneur is the ease. I can write a proposal for a book chapter. I can write a book chapter alone by just asking ChatGPT. We can do a lot of things with AI, but should we? And it's not that AI is evil or some maniacal force that's going to take over the universe. It's about the risk we assume when we use it. And is that risk worth it? And when you're a solo entrepreneur, often what you'll find yourself is you're compressed for time. Because as a solo entrepreneur, you're the accountant, you're the marketer, you're the logistics operations specialist, you're the business continuity specialist, you're the government compliance, you're the tax auditor, you're everything all in one. So if something can come along and carve out 20 minutes a day and give you back that free time, that's wonderful. And in a great number of cases for AI, it's brilliant. But there is a logical place where that stops. And sometimes it's found in the ease and convenience. Yes, it's easier to do it this way, but it is exposing me to too much, etc. So it's just as a solo entrepreneur to take your time and look at that. Now, if you're in a business where you have 1, 2, or 3 employees, or you have 4 or 5 people that are working together and starting something up, it's about having that conversation about how each other is using AI and what information you're putting into it. Are you putting the core business data, your business intelligence, is that going in? If you're going to sit here and claim that you have intellectual property and that you own that intellectual property, and then you turn around and are willing to throw it into every ChatGPT bot that comes along to try to help you do something, do you really own that intellectual property? Well, you probably legally do, but you've spread it everywhere. You've basically given it to every major company around and said, here, freely have and learn from my business intelligence and my intellectual property. That's a very real world thing that you got to do. So you think about, and my notes here are kind of to put it into an AI risk framework. But again, I don't want to get into something complicated. I'm happy with a scribbler. Those of you who know me, I'm a Hilroy scribbler guy. I write things down on scribblers just because the pages don't fall out, and I think it's great. Writing it down on there is just an exercise in going through, hey, I think AI is brilliant. I think it's wonderful. I think it can help our business out a great deal. But I really think that we should probably sit down and have a conversation about how we're using it and the risks. And so now when you're in a bigger company, say you work in a company of, say, 10 to 50 people, top line 5 million or less, bottom line revenue, probably several $100,000 in profit. You're a healthy, ongoing corporation. You're competing against other companies that may be more comfortable with taking risk with AI. Be careful to fall into the trap of thinking that you're a first mover. And that first movers mean taking uneducated risk and unnecessary extending of your operations to a point where you could cause some significant problems for the broader operation by a smaller error. Think about whether people are punching in ideas. You have a strategy meeting. You're thinking about, hey, listen, we really think that we can break into this industry because company A and B are lagging right now in their use of AI and their use of leveraging it. I think if we leverage this product using a couple of AI add-ons, that we'll be able to leapfrog company A and B in this new area and grab a really neat new piece of market share. You hear conversations like that a lot. Are your employees at home on their phones at night coming up with different ideas and running 20 or 15 different scenarios through ChatGPT? Are you assuming that they're good and they're friendly and that they're not going to put it into the wrong bot or the wrong thing or hit an extension? And I'll give you a prime example. Years ago, there used to be just, you'd have to buy you still buy domain names, but there used to be limited to .ca or .com or .org, right? And the .int came out for international, and there were a few others. Right now, there's a number of good scams going on where the .com is actually CORN, not COM. And it's very, very close, and it's very hard to see on a small screen of a smartphone. And so what people are doing is they're thinking they're at chatgpt.com, but they're at chatgpt.corn. And I know it's funny because corn stands for something else. But you do that, and before you know it, you're uploading a whole bunch of things and a whole bunch of material to something that is not an AI bot. And it kicks you out a bunch of ridiculous answers because we can all buy an AI bot for dirt cheap. But in actually what it's doing is stealing your business intelligence, and now it's sold, or now you get ransomware. All we're trying to say is understand in your business, whether you're just a solo entrepreneur making $18,000 a year, or whether you're a $4 million company, who's using AI, in what fashion are they using AI, and am I comfortable with that? Do I need to put some restrictions on it? Do we need to limit where and when and what attachments my employees, my company, or myself as a solo entrepreneur, what does it make intelligent to throw up into ChatGPT? I'll give a final example in the world of academia. Now, one of the side things that I do is I'm a professor of disaster and emergency management. I teach 3 graduate courses a year, and my students, and some use AI, clearly because I get a video message from a student on a disaster, and they're summing it up in a 5-minute video, and they're talking about things that never happened, but the chatbot told them that it did. So clearly the individual hasn't done the background work, hasn't done the homework, but they thought they would just throw the data into ChatGPT. So of course I do that, right? I take the assignment rubric, the assignment outline, and the 3 articles that the assignment is on, I put them up in ChatGPT, and I say, go ahead and write me a 1,500 word synopsis or a 500 word synopsis. And I do that in Claude, in X, in ChatGPT, and in Perplexity, and a couple of other ones. And then I put them all down, and I'm wondering, and guess what? Some of them I get some pretty darn neat copies. But I've also seen professors break the mold. And I've seen professors err. And that's where the professor takes the student's submission, so their video work or their paper, the rubric, and the articles, and put it up there and ask ChatGPT or X to mark it. And it's actually pretty cool because it does do that. The problem is the ethical danger there is I'm offering the students work without their permission to a AI bot that I'm hoping is just using it for learning, but I really have no idea what's happening to it. I have no control over that student's submission. So I've seen a number of professors do that, come up with a beginning scoring, and then what they do is then they go in and change a bit of the language to make it sound like it's them, and they can mark, 15 papers in an hour. And people are like, oh, you're amazing. No, because you're not even doing it and you're not reading it. And sometimes when you do that 3 or 4 times over, the AI will just repeat the same comments from the previous one, even though the topic changed, right? So I ran this exercise with some fake papers that I created. Some fake papers I created and my own submissions that I made during my graduate studies. And I ran this exercise, and it actually does a very good job of marking. It's not that far off how I would assess it. But again, it's an ethical danger of, do you have the permission of the person whose intellectual property that is to upload it into a chat bot? And hopefully these people are ethical that you've just given it to, and they will only do the best of things with it. And we all know where that comment leads with, and our trust in major software firms right now is not at the highest. And so it's a cautionary tale. I use AI. I think it's brilliant. It helps me out with a number of wonderful things as we grow Mastering Risk and as we grow our influence and create opportunities to help bring risk management, business continuity, and preparedness education to the masses. But there is a limit. There's an ethical line there that I don't think we really spend enough time talking about on what we should use it for, which is different for what we could use it for. And I think that's a conversation we, as a general populace, need to have more and more. We need to come to a better agreement on what we think is the appropriate and ethical use of AI. Now, I don't want to flog this concept anymore. AI is great, and we talk a lot about on this channel about helping small business owners, because in the end, what we're presented a lot on YouTube and on the podcast and in other social media is the internet seems to be full, absolutely chock full of people who have these wonderful solutions that are going to get you to $1 million in a year. You know, one product, one channel till you get to $1 million. You got to work 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. There's a lot of us out there that's not what we're interested in. But what we want to do is create a profitable, sustainable side hustle that supplements our income to some degree. And if we could get it to a certain level, might actually allow us to reduce from full-time work to part-time work, or as we like to use it and recommend it as an insurance against when you're fired from your full-time job, do you have a secondary source of income that at least will cover the rent and a few baked goods for your family? Like basic stuff here. We're talking about our core message is to creators, ideas, thinkers, and people of all ages, because I'm doing this in my 50s, so you're never too old to jump 2 feet into the entrepreneurial world to just get it successful. And what is success? Well, success is profit. And at the end of the year, I remember the first year that I was profitable. I made $1,600 in profit. And I paid something like $120 in tax or something like that, depending on, it's how the tax worked out. Actually, I think it was about $180 in tax, about 12%, right? I paid corporate tax. And that may not seem nothing to somebody out there, but I created an entity out of nowhere. I got it up and going. I solved the problem people had. People paid for my solution, and I sold enough of it that it could overcome the costs and generate profit. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I'd love to make 6 figures a month in profit. Who wouldn't? $1 million, 10 million top line. Sure, why not? The reality, though, is only 5, according to the Small Business Administration in the US, and the statistics are very similar in Canada, less than 5% of small and medium businesses even have a top line revenue of above $1 million. The 95% of us are sitting below $1 million, and of that 95%, only 20% of that breaches the $100,000. So the significant majority of small and medium business owners in North America are people like you and me who are sitting here happy trying to generate $35,000, $75,000 of profit for our families, profit for our communities, to be able to have that side hustle, to be able to insulate against those political and economic shifts. Because remember, we all exist in a world we don't control. It doesn't matter what your political stripe is. Politicians will do dumb, idiotic things on a regular basis. They'll change rules, they'll get angry, and they'll just put new processes in that make no logical sense. Those influence economics. So economic shifts go up and down. We have combat and we have wars breaking out in small parts all around the world. Who knew that Cambodia and Thailand would be throwing punches at each other? Pakistan and India periodically do. India and China periodically do. And then we have Ukraine and Russia. And you have all of these fights going on that are having downstream economic effects on your bottom line. When you're a cross-border shipper, like we were at one point, in a previous iteration of Preparedness Labs Incorporated, we were a cross-border shipper. I had to navigate out of that business into something different because of political decisions that are made in Canada and the United States that made that cross-border transition not impossible, but more effort than I was willing to do for the revenue that it generated. So we decided to pivot on that. It's about, you don't control the world, and as angry and frustrated you may feel, you cannot make politicians or economic leaders do what you want. We exist, and coming into 2026, in a state of chaos and uncertainty. But I'm here to tell you, this is the point to jump in with 2 feet. You have to understand, embrace, and leverage risk. But if you don't understand the cyber, reputational, strategic, and operational risk that you're exposed to simply by deciding to have a side hustle, you're putting yourself and the entire operation at significant risk of being thumped upside the head. It's like Mike Tyson had. Everybody has a plan until you get punched upside the head. Well, according to the Small Business Administration in the United States of America, 91% of SMBs have a significant disruption of some type every quarter. That's the reality of being an entrepreneur. It's going to be bumpy. It's going to be punchy. The rules are going to be changed on you all the time. It's you who's got to figure out, how do I navigate that disruption? That's what we do here at Mastering Risk. That's why we exist. So drop by our website at www.preparednesslabs.ca. The link is down in the description. We have all kinds of free products there, free downloads on risk management for small and medium businesses. If you're thinking about starting a side hustle, jump onto that website, get the free download. There's also a free family preparedness download there as well. Get those free products. We're across all social media. We put out about 500 pieces of social media product every single week. 2 videos, a couple of podcasts, and 15 to 20 different products across all the channels every day. So follow us across all the channels, subscribe to the YouTube, follow us on your favorite podcast app, and we hope to see you shortly on the next episode. Take care.